Planning Commission. Can we begin with a call to order? Okay, everybody set? Okay. Can we have the roll call of board members, please?
Okay. Vice Chair McDermott,
Present?
Commissioner Each,
Present.
Commissioner Medina, Commissioner Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Bob, Commissioner Benson.
Present.
I do know that Commissioner Bob did say he would be here tonight, so, Chairman Ernst did make his excuses, and so did Commissioner Blemire.
Okay. All right, can we please have the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Debbie, any amendments to the agenda? No, sir. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of our October 13th meeting?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Communications, council?
So this is a summary of quasi-judicial procedures applicable to the items tonight. These rules apply to applications on specific parcels of land like zoning map amendments, special exceptions, variances, and conditional use requests. The commission will sit like a court, hence the term quasi-judicial, reviewing the facts presented at the hearing, applying the adopted rules as explained by staff in the staff report and verbally. Commission members can make site visits but must disclose the evidence upon which they intend to rely from that visit. Commission members will disclose at the beginning of the hearing whether they have had communications with individuals on behalf of the applicant or otherwise, including who the communication was with and what the topic of the discussion was. All persons intending to speak to the commission will be sworn by the clerk. Staff will make a presentation and the commission may ask questions. The applicant will make a presentation including expert witnesses, if any, and the commission may ask questions. When the public hearing is open, the public can make comments on the application limited to 2 minutes each. Citizen testimony must be fact-based, not opinion. Commission may ask questions and the applicant's attorney, if any, may ask questions called cross-examination. Members of the public can decline to be cross-examined. The commission deliberates based upon the evidence presented. The commission's decision must be based on competent substantial evidence, meaning based on the record, staff presentations, expert presentations, and fact-based comments by citizens according to the standards set forth for approval in the city code. The commission may approve, deny, or continue the item. While staff previously read into the record, emailed, or mailed comments, we have concluded this is improper in quasi-judicial proceedings as the person sending the comments is not sworn and there is no opportunity for cross-examination. Written comments submitted before the meeting are part of the record and available for review by the commission. Lastly, we ask each of you to treat this proceeding with respect and proper decorum. No calling out, interrupting speakers, or disrupting the proceeding. Please give this proceeding the same dignity and respect as if you were in court. Disruptions are prohibited and enforceable pursuant to the city code. Please also silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may introduce your new board secretary,
Yes, please.
Ms. Raymond. This is Cynthia Raymond. Cynthia is your new board secretary. She's taking over for Stephanie Thomas. She is.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, she's taking over for Stephanie Thomas, and she's doing a great job so far. So this will be your new board secretary, and she will be reaching out to you, confirming, providing you any materials that you may need. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, we need to swear in everyone who is going to be testifying or making a presentation on tonight's items. Everybody here? Okay. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay? All right, let's begin with PC 17-63, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving an application for a conditional use permit in substantially the attached form for a proposed mixed-use development consisting of a 19-story, 450-unit rental apartment building with 12,960 square feet of ground-level commercial and retail space on 3 parcels of real property located at 1660 Northeast 127th Street, Miami-Dade folio number 06-2229-007-0170, and 12600 Northeast 17th Avenue, Miami-Dade folio number 06-2229-007-0320, and at the southeast quadrant of Northeast 17th Avenue and Northeast 127th Street, Miami-Dade folio number 06-2229-007-0010, and totaling approximately 3.3 acres in accordance with Article 3, Division 4, Section 3-402 through 3-407, Article 4, Division 2, Section 4202, Section 4-203A, and Section 4-205, and Article 4, Division 3, Section 4-310 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
We should see if there's disclosure.
Okay, staff?
Are there any disclosures by the commission
No?
on this item?
Any staff disclosure from anyone? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Debbie Love, City Planner, Community Planning and Development. The item before you is a conditional, this first item is actually a conditional use permit request for a project called Biscayne Bay, North Miami. It is located, as you saw, at 1660 Northeast 127th and 12600 Northeast 17th. As you can see, it consists of properties of within the former Johnson and Wales University, and this was a field that had been proposed at some point for soccer. It also includes 60 plus or minus surface parking spaces on the 3 lots there to the west of Northeast 17th Avenue. It equals, you read in the title, it's about 3.3 acres in size. We have recently approved, or City Council recently approved a second reading, the extension of the North Miami Transit Station Overlay District to incorporate these parcels of land. And 17th Avenue, that portion of 17th Avenue between 127th and 126 was vacated when Johnson and Wells, as part of Johnson and Wells Campus Master Plan. So that is actually part of the entire development project itself. While it is still zoned public use, the North Miami Transit Station Overlay District allows a wide variety of retail, restaurant, commercial uses, as well as residential development at 150 dwelling units per acre through the conditional use permit process, and a building height of up to 200 feet. The project consists of, well, the title says 12,960 square feet. After this was advertised, they modified their plans slightly to lower that to 11,260 square feet of commercial space. An interesting component of this project is, and I'm sure the applicant will go over it a little bit more in detail, is an elevated, and you can see part of it to the right, and elevated, because this is elevated for sea level rise. And it's an elevated landscaped public space that is multi-purpose. It's landscaped, it can be used for seating, for restaurants, it could be used for seating for the public. So it's a public square, so to speak. As we always require, it's going to be certified, a minimum certified green belt. It'll have 100% Florida native vegetation, and public art will be incorporated into it. And the applicant will probably show you, but in your package, you'll see some of the design plans where they're showing some potential for artwork on the building itself. As to the economic impact, about 1,200 direct and indirect jobs would be created during construction, about 2 years period of construction, which would be about $106 million in wages. Post-construction, they anticipate 67 full-time jobs. The ad valorem of 1.1 million a year, and 1.84 million in development and impact fees will come to the city. The conditions for this CUP include, of course, the typical DRC review and city council approval. They do have to install a 6-foot wide sidewalk along 126th and 127th. All the utilities have to be underground. They need to unify those parcels. Now, as you can see, there were individual parcels. They'll need to unify that prior to city council, coming back to city council for site plan approval. But we'll work with them in case it needs to be replatted or anything like that. As I said, they will be LEED certified or national equivalent. They have proposed green wall, rooftop garden, bioswales, and rain gardens, and those conditions will be in their conditional use permit. We do want to note two other conditions that we would like to add to the conditional use permit is we verified that the parking lot, the surface parking lot with those spaces, will remain surface parking lot. So we would like to add them to the conditional use permit itself. They understand that if some point down the road they wish to do anything else with those parking spaces, so that parking lot, they will need to come back and modify their conditional use permit. But right now it will remain 60 plus or minus surface parking spaces at that location. We also would like to add, get your permission, to add that the conditional use permit is subject to the effective date of the train station overlay district. That is actually effective as of 11/23/22, because it doesn't become effective until 31 days after adoption. As I said, it was adopted on 10/25, so that makes it effective 11/23/22. Those are the modifications. I do want to point out that we did have a typo on page 7 of the staff report where we noted that the, on number 5, that it was 7.6 acres and it's actually 3.3 acres. They do not have affordable housing in this project. It's all market rate housing. So I just wanted to clarify that for you so there was no misunderstanding. The next steps, this is anticipated to go before City Council on November 18th. And as I always tell everybody, as you remember, my usual thing is that's tentative. We don't control that agenda, but we're anticipating it will go to City Council. As a reminder, it's typical. It requires DRC review and then coming back to City Council for site plan approval. With that, that's the end of staff's presentation. The applicant's agents are here. They do have a presentation. They're also here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right.
Hang on a second, Devin. Dunia, I'll get you.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Devin Vickers with Greenberg Traurig. Office is located at 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue. I'm here this evening on behalf of the property owner and applicant. And as Debbie mentioned, we have our entire development team here this evening to present to you this amazing project and to answer any questions you may have. So we're here joined by the applicant and developer from Golub and Company. We have their representatives, Joel Sandridge and John Walters. We have our architects from SCB Architects who will be walking you through the project momentarily. We have our landscape architects from Witkin Holtz, and we also have our civil and traffic engineers here this evening from Langen. So as you can see, we have our entire team here. As I mentioned, we're very excited to bring this project before you. And I think Debbie did an awesome job in introducing the project, but if you'll indulge us for just a few more minutes, we'd like to kind of give you more details about exactly what we're proposing here tonight. So as Debbie mentioned, this is the site, and we're just over 3.3 acres. And as Debbie also mentioned, it's really an assemblage of parcels. So we have a portion of the surface parking lot to the west, and then we have the vacant parcel to the east, which is where a majority of the development site will be located. And then we have the vacated portion of Northeast 17th Avenue that really connects both sides of the street and both sides of the project. As Debbie also mentioned, as you're aware, the City Council recently approved the extension of the North Miami Transit Overlay District, which now includes our property. And in doing so, we really believe the City Council and city planners had a vision to really have this area as a target area for redevelopment and also activating pedestrian connectivity and also within your transit, the city's mobility hub, and really targeting your transit-oriented development. And so in talking about transit-oriented development, this property, as I mentioned, is located in your city's mobility hub. And for a good reason, because it's an incredible property, and from a connectivity perspective, it's really wedged between some of your major travel corridors here in the city. So as you can see, to our east, we are just one property away from Biscayne Boulevard, which is one of your city's major travel corridors from north to south. And then to our east, we have Northeast 16th Avenue. So although that's not necessarily a major corridor, it connects to the rest of the city's major travel corridors from Northeast 123rd Street, Northeast 135th Street, as well as West Dixie Highway. And so these are significant transit options that you have within our city that this property shows is ideally located and connects different travel corridors within the city. In addition to the travel corridors, this property is also ideally located within a lot of different mass transit options. And so what you see on this slide is, I think I went over, is you have a lot of different options for your Miami-Dade County bus routes, from bus routes 3, 16, and 93. And these routes really connect not just North Miami and different sectors of North Miami, but really North Miami to the rest of the county. So for example, bus route 3 travels all the way from downtown Miami to Aventura. So these are essential bus routes and mass transit that connect, again, not just different areas of North Miami, but these residents and future residents of the project to North Miami to different areas of Miami-Dade County. And then you have your local bus routes that are serviced by the North Miami Express bus routes that run from the Blue Route and Red Route. And those connect different areas of North Miami directly. There are 2 bus stops directly north of our project that connect this project to the north and also to the west of the city of North Miami. And these are just a full scope of the North Miami bus routes. And you can see, as I mentioned, not just connects the north and southern boundaries of North Miami, but really the east and the west. And so in addition to the major transit hubs that really are located ideally around the property, in addition to one note that I failed to mention was the future and anticipated Northeast 125th Street Tri-Rail Station. And so when you're looking at those different mass transit options, in addition to that the city, or that this property is really ideally located in some of the city's ideal markers for that live, work, and play environment that this North Miami Transit Overlay District really envisioned for this area. And so as I walk through this, you can see even on this slide, it's kind of hard to ignore just some of the both large scale and small scale commercial and retail options that you have nearly directly to the north, south, and just a stone's throw away to the east and west. So as I walk you through some of those options that we have that are adjacent and abutting to our property, we have to the east, we have to the south, a 10-story office building. And then you all are very familiar with the Johnson and Wales Community Center that will be shortly renamed after Commissioner Scott Galvin. To our southwest, to our east, we have the local pizza shop as well as TD Bank. And then to our north, to our northeast rather, we have Wells Fargo Bank, which also serves as an office building. And then directly to our north, we have one of the major shopping centers that houses one of the largest grocers in the southeast, a Publix, as well as other retail and commercial uses that really fulfill any resident's daily shopping needs, such as a local nail salon. You have a medical clinic or a family medical clinic in that shopping center. You have a fitness center, and you have fast food options. And so this just goes to show that this property really is centrally located. And what we're doing with this project is really filling the hole, or filling the donut, because in this area, you already have the existing play, you already have the existing work. What this project intends to do is really provide the live component that the city envisioned for this area as part of this North Miami Transit Overlay District. And so before I turn it over, I just want to emphasize that this project really is what we believe the missing puzzle piece in this area, and clearly what your city council and planners intended for this area. And again, what we intend to do with this project is not just create a multifamily residential development with, ground floor commercial and retail use, but really integrate the community with this project. And I'll have our architect kind of walk through those steps and walk through the details of this project, and I'll wrap it up with some of the public benefits that we're providing as part of this project.
Good evening. My name is James Michaels. I'm an architect with SCB out of Chicago and one of the senior designers for the project. I'm going to walk you through the plans very briefly and highlight the key features, and then I'll take you through some of the imagery for the project and renderings. The image that you see before you is the ground floor plan or site plan for the project. The area colored in purple is the proposed retail. Now, we see this retail as a retail that creates a destination. We're taking, it's being aligned along 17th Street, and it's actually elevated about 6 feet to give it a little bit of exclusivity. But we're thinking that this is a pedestrian space that's very active, has cafes, restaurants that would be off of that street. On the north, we have 127th. You can see the items in yellow. This is where the main entry to the residential building is located. And we have some renderings of all of this that I'm going to show you very, very quickly. And then towards the south, we have along that facade, there's a proposed art wall and green wall that you'll see in a rendering very shortly, and that's along 126. The next couple slides are plans as you go up through the building. What's shown in blue are residential units. One of the key features that we're doing with this project, which is not typical and we think is very special, is that we're taking our 5-story parking garage, which has 685 cars in it, and we're lining it with residential. So you don't have that sense, at least along 127th and along 17th, of that parking behind it. And this is a very kind of common cool trend that's happening around the country, but we think it's a nice way to shield parking. This level here is the top of the parking, which we're creating an outdoor rooftop garden slash park-like space. We also have our amenity, which is shown in purple, which is in the middle of the building. One of the other things that we've done with this 450 units is we've broken it into two masses. So there's a bar on the left that you see, which is a mass of residential units, or a block of residential units, and then of course the main block, which is runs parallel to 127th. As you go up in the building, we have this key feature space that was alluded to before, which we're calling the portal or window, really, that is a public space that is about 3 stories high and has these amazing views of Miami, North Miami, and looking south towards downtown Miami. That space is, of course, lined with residential units on either side. One of the other features of the project, you can see here in the darker blue in the middle, is we are proposing some unique units that are through units. So they have daylight on the front and the back, which is not typical of a residential unit, so that's going to be kind of a special feature of this project, and we're introducing those in unique locations. So this is a view of 127th, looking south, southeast. You can see, and we have some close-up shots. We're really trying to activate the street by creating this colonnade and these spaces that go in and out in terms of creating shade. And then one of the key features of the building is that we have this continuous balcony system that shades the facade on the north and the south quite a bit. Additionally, the portal that I talked about is in the middle. You can see it there. That's an open space, so air and light can move through there, provide these views. It's an outdoor space. We think that's going to be a real key feature of this project and a real icon. The two zones to the right and left of it that are above and below it, those are the through units that I talked about, so those kind of create this slightly L shape in elevation there. And then you can see off to the right, we have that lower mass that I just mentioned, and 17th Street, which is elevated. This is a view, this is kind of an aerial shot, bird's eye view, so this is looking towards North Miami. You can see the kind of lush green, like park-like space on top of the parking that we're creating. And then just along 126, you can see where we're creating an art wall, and then at the base of that art wall, a green wall. So we're growing up we have landscaping at the base of it, and then above that, an art wall. And that's about 2/3 of that overall elevation along 126, so we're still trying to animate that facade and create a feature out of that. Additionally, we're building new sidewalks, new curbs. We're adding a few new parking spaces and lighting. So that's all happening really to connect Biscayne to 17th and just reinforce the connections of our site to the rest of the city. This is a eye-level view. We're on the north side now. I'm looking at 17th Street, so this is how 17th Street meets the curb. We're stepping it down with some landscaping, and as I said before, that's elevated to give it a little more exclusivity, but also to make it more pedestrian and really more welcoming, and really to create a destination. This is a sort of eye-level view of what that looks like, but you can see the large open space there with the palm trees, and then this kind of in and out of the facade that creates these different moments for whatever potential retail goes there. Another view similar to that previous one, just a little closer up. So as we move east along 127th, we have a few renderings of what that looks like. So this is our main entry lobby space. So there's a small drop-off that's being proposed, but there's also parking on the interior, of course, for guests and visitors. But this is set in to create more shade and also just break up the facade in a way. So you can see the columns are exposed here, so there's a little sense of a colonnade. And then we're proposing this very strong featured art wall, which is a backdrop to this. And this is just kind of our illustration of what that art wall could be potentially. It could be a painted mural, or it could be a mosaic, for instance. This is a similar view, just looking a little bit further down. You can see that colonnade extending down 127th. So now we're at the east end of the site, looking west along 127th. There's another kind of inset that you can see here, which is an outdoor terrace that we're proposing. And then this is that same outdoor terrace kind of looking in the opposite direction. One thing I want to highlight is all along 127th, we have this beautiful landscaping that we're proposing with these elevated planting beds that undulate in and out with very nice pavers that create a kind of unique pattern just to really create a special space and street edge to 127th. These are elevations. I won't get into too much detail here, but these are elevations north, south, and east of and west of the overall building. These were included in our submittal. And then for the landscape, I'll briefly just go through this unless there are questions, but we have Whitkins here who could talk to it more specifically. These are just examples of some of the photos at the bottom are examples of some of the key features that we're introducing. Along 127th, we have some zones where you see the number 3, where there are little respite spaces where there could be a bench, for instance. And there's some images of what that possibly could look like. At the end of, as I said before, at the end of 17th Street, we're proposing, because it's raised up, we're proposing this stepped landscaping to soften that visual look of what that looks like and really make it beautiful. And then, of course, at the top of the podium, we're proposing this very lush, very green, really landscape space that's a beautiful amenity for the tenants who will be staying here, and then, of course, the amenity space and the large pool in the middle. All of the plant species here are going to be indigenous. Is that correct, John? Yes. Native. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm not a landscape architect, and Andrew could speak more to that if there are questions. Thank you.
I think our James did a great job in kind of highlighting some of the poignant parts of this project. But I wanted to reiterate some of the public amenities that we're providing. He mentioned some of the art walls, and it's not one art wall, not two, but 3 separate art walls that we're providing on both the Northeast 127th Street frontage as well as the Northeast 126th Street frontage. And like I mentioned before, that's really our way, our intention of integrating the community. We've already agreed with city and city staff that we will do our best to find local artists so we can use those local artists to integrate North Miami with this project. In addition to the public art, James touched on the outdoor promenade, the elevated 11,000 square feet promenade that will be, instead of building on top of that Northeast 17th Avenue, which is a part of our development site, we wanted to give something back, not just to the future residents of this project, but to the community. So again, this is a space that people can serve as a gathering spot where people can share a cup of coffee, grab a bite to eat, and really marvel at not just this project, but this whole entire neighborhood. And so we really feel like this is a great project and really the missing puzzle piece that the city envisioned for this area. So we will welcome your recommendation, which is in line with staff's recommendation of approval for this project. I would also like to reserve a couple minutes for rebuttal in the event there is public comment. But at this point, we will close our presentation, and of course, we will be here to answer any questions that you all may have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have a question. Who owns this project?
So the property owners are, one second, let me get the exact name right. Propco JW LLC
Okay, and where are they domiciled?
in Chicago.
Okay. Are they a LLC in the state of Florida?
They're registered under the state of Florida, I believe, yes. So they're active. I think if you look them up on Sunbiz,
Yeah.
They'll show an active LLC.
Well, they don't. They show revoked for annual report as of last night.
We'll look into that, but as of the time when we submitted this application, they're definitely an active LLC. That's one thing that staff looks and confirms, because we also have to provide deeds showing that we own the
Yes.
property.
Who is Landco JW LLC?
So that's a subsidiary of the Propco JW LLC, so it's pretty much the same entity.
Okay. And are either of these LLCs foreign limited liability companies?
I don't believe so, no. They're all, like I mentioned, they're domiciled in Chicago.
What's the foreign limited liability company, Propco JW LLC? This was from 9/17/2021. Capital Services. This was filed on the 17th of September, 2021. It says foreign limited liability company, Propco JW.
I'm not familiar. I would have to look at the documentation you're referring to, but they are a Chicago-based LLC.
Right. So the dollars to fund this project come from the United States?
That would be something I need to confirm with my client, but I believe so, yes. Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. No further questions, but it hasn't been answered yet.
If you can, maybe afterwards, or I can get a copy of what you're referring to, but I can't speak definitively on something we haven't seen yet.
Okay.
It's a joint venture with an investment division based out of Miami, Florida.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Have one of
please
our
state- please
representatives from the
state your-
property owner come up.
Yeah, please state your name and address, please.
My name's Colin Mahoney, 611 Northeast 52nd Street, and I'm here on behalf of Leste. Leste is a company based out of Miami, Florida. We're joint venturing with Golub, based out of Chicago. So the capitals are going to be coming out of a Miami-based company, which has syndications with families all over the world, Latin America especially. So that would be an explanation for the documents that you're looking at.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay. Number one, so you're proposing no affordable housing set-asides in this project?
Correct. This is a market rate development.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't have set-asides for affordable housing.
Doesn't mean so, but what we're proposing today is market rate, 100% market rate with no income restrictions.
Okay, with that being said, what is your community benefits package? And don't tell me about art walls, that's not community benefits.
I mean, in addition to the 11,000 square foot open space, that's not just for the residents of the future project, if this were to get approved, but also for the entire community that serves as a gathering spot, in addition to the economic impacts that this project or the approval of this project will bring the city of North Miami. I think that is a good summary of the totality of the economic and public benefits that we are proposing and would be provided as part of this project.
Well, we understand the economic benefits that comes with a project. And it's a massive project, looks like a wonderful project. But there's a lot of needs in this community. And I think with a project like this, of its size and its potential, I just think there needs to be something left on the table for the community. So, that's, so, but you have nothing in the plans for that.
No, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for? Yeah.
Did you conduct any outreach to the property owners next to you, within 350 from the center, the houses, and did you did any outreach?
Not as of today, but we understanding that this is a very long process and the Planning Commission is really the first step in this process. And so we'd really came here this evening, not just to present the project to you all as Planning Commission Board, but also to hear any feedback that we may have from any abutting and adjacent neighbors and anyone in the community, as this is a public forum, and we really believe this is the best opportunity to have that dialogue and hear any feedback, again, not just from you all, but from the members of this community. And so, to answer your question more directly, no, not as of yet, but we would be completely open to, if after this meeting and in between city council, meeting with anyone who would want to meet with us and discuss the project and any concerns they may have.
Traffic studies?
Yes, we did a traffic study that should be in your package, but we also have our traffic engineer here to answer any specific questions you have. But I believe in that traffic study that's in your package, it shows that even with this proposed development, we would still be operating at a sufficient level, and I believe that's level of service B, which is a pretty good standard as far as traffic-wise. But I can bring up our traffic engineer
Please.
to answer any specific questions you may have.
Hi, Joe Goldberg at Langen Engineering, offices at 110 East Broward Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank you for coming.
of course.
I'm not going to enter in the technicality or probably the book you use, but I just have one question. Did you conduct this study before or after they opened the academy that is just next to you? The Matter Academy?
Do you-
Because the traffic there go all the way from 16 to,
So no, our study was done before this would have been opened.
so your study is irrelevant. Okay, thanks.
Okay, anyone have any questions for the presenter? Okay, so we're gonna,
Nobody else has any questions?
no, I'm gonna open it to public
I
hearing.
just had one.
For him?
Not for the engineer, but, Mayor. I think that you were getting at, Mike, when you were saying, we had that Wildcat Center across the street, and you might want to get with the city. One of the things that's a problem is parking. And in those parking spaces to the west of the facility that you're leaving open, I think if you might want to look at possibly looking at maybe building a garage or some sort, a public space, a public garage over there, maybe 2-3 stories, to facilitate the parking for that facility, the Scott Galvin Center, though it's called the Wildcat Center. I walk there every day, and I'm pleased to see that you're going to leave that 17th Avenue open to the public with the pavers. And that used to be an old trailer park before Johnson & Wales bought it, and it was a dilapidated area there. I mean, really terrible. Then Johnson & Wales came along and got rid of the trailer park, and then you guys are coming here, and I'm kind of excited about the project. I think it's great. Thank you.
Here too, and just to touch a little bit on the west surface parking lot. So we fully intend to maintain that surface parking lot as parking, and even though it's a private parking lot right now, we have on several different occasions opened up that parking lot to certain events, government events that were held at the Wildcat Center. And so that would not change as long as, anytime we're approached by the city or any other private entity, we are definitely open to opening that surface parking lot to the public.
What I'm trying to get at, I think that they need more. And maybe on a give back to the city, it might be advisable to build a couple of more stories in that parking garage over there, if it's feasible. I'm just throwing that out there. I know what Mike was getting at, a give back to the community. And,
We'll definitely take
that's
that
an
into
option that you can
consideration.
study. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question,
Sure.
unless,
That was me. But you go ahead first, sir.
yeah, so about this, as far as the traffic study, does it account for any of the previously approved projects that are going to be developed in proximity to your site? Like your 450 units, within the last 8 months, we've approved probably 3 projects within that, like a 4 square block.
So as of the current study that we've done, we do not have any committed developments included as background to our study. So no, not as
Okay.
of right now.
And Debbie, has us as the city, how do we deal with that? Because there's a number of projects we've approved. This is 450 units. If those projects aren't accounted in this study, that's a deficit that's not being accounted for.
It's a potential. What I would strongly recommend the applicant do between now and city council is to go back, add in the plan developments that we've already approved. Also look at Mater Academy, because this was done, Mater Academy has been there, and they need to incorporate Mater Academy. So you need to modify that traffic study to include the background and to include Mater Academy as well.
Okay, we will definitely do that. We confirmed with the traffic engineer that we can definitely get those counts from you, Debbie, and we can integrate that into our current traffic study so that it can reflect some of the more recent approvals as well as the more recently opened Mater Academy. So we'll work with staff to get that done.
Yeah, and I think also backing up what Mr. Edwards was saying is that, you know, just within your very, very short range, you're going to have 1,000 units. 1,000 units within about a 5-block radius of you. That's massive. So I think you need to perhaps redo the traffic study, particularly with not counting in Mater Academy and the other projects that have already been approved.
And and you will work with our traffic engineer, Mohammed Zaid, in obtaining that background data for the previously approved.
And I would just like to add, the way our traffic study right now is the results of it, I do believe, even including all that additional background committed developments, we probably will still be operating well, given the way the intersections operate now.
They do have high functioning, even with that development, of intersections and driveways. So, but, and 126 and 127, on those were not loaded with those projects, 126 and 127. But I still would like to see them incorporated in so that we can have a true confirmation of that.
And you guys took live readings, right?
I'm sorry?
Took live readings?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no other questions for the applicant, I'd like to open public hearing. Anyone who would like to comment on this project, please come forward. Name and address, please.
Yes, Acting Chair McDermott. Isaac Salver. I am the president of the HOA at 12550 Biscayne Boulevard. The property right next door on 126th on the southern side of the street. First of all, I'm sitting in the audience. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Many of the questions that I had, you already asked, and I know many of you from before, and they were excellent questions. And I want to also mention the job that Debbie Love and her staff is doing. We really appreciate what you're doing. And overall, this project is a beautiful project. But there are a couple of concerns. For our building, I'm sure staff is aware that our building garage, which we recently acquired, prior to our acquiring it, was condemned by the city. And right now, it is under construction. So it's basically a construction zone. I would say we're about 5/8 complete. It'll probably be completed in another 3 or 4 months. And the temporary parking facilities that we're leasing are actually part of this project. It's the surface lot that's to the west of the big building. So, we're uber interested in what happens there because right now our building, which is basically 80, let's say 90 units, has no parking aside from, a little bit of valet and then street parking, which we've been given permission to use, the swales, et cetera, et cetera. There's a few things that I was concerned about. I am a CPA by trade. I'm not an attorney, nor am I a builder or a contractor. but I did get to review the plans that I saw, and I'm not sure I interpreted everything exactly the way it was presented tonight, but I am concerned about a couple of points, and I'll share them with you. The plan, I think somewhere in the plan, there were parking spots that were noted, 600 and something parking spots. I'm not exactly sure. But, you know, I read a comment that said that the code calls for over 700 parking spots. So not only are we concerned as the neighboring property with parking, I sat in on a few other meetings where some of the neighboring residential folks came and said parking in that area is really, really bad. I am also concerned about the plans, if I read them correctly, that all the ingress and the egress will be on 126th Street. And after hearing the comments from the traffic study, I have to be a little bit suspect because that there is traffic on 126th Street. I'm not sure if it's because of, you know, our construction with the garage or, you know, other elements that are affecting it, but I know that that street is always backed up, and it's really one lane this way and one lane that way, and if a FedEx truck comes, oftentimes traffic is backed up to Biscayne Boulevard. So that is an incredibly dangerous intersection. So I would suggest that maybe the ingress and egress be looked at a little bit further. Maybe both sides of the building could be used. I'm not sure. Also, regarding the traffic, traffic is horrible on 127th and Biscayne. Traffic is horrible on 126th and Biscayne, and traffic is horrible on the white elephant or the elephant in the room, which is 123rd and Biscayne. That big intersection cannot support another, Mike, how many did you say, how many units? 1,000, you know, 1,000 new or 2,000 new units. That intersection cannot support it. Eastbound traffic already needs to cycle through, you know, one or two times just to get traffic going east. I'm concerned about staging. If you guys are building literally to the lot line, especially on the grassy part, you know, there's zero setbacks. And where are you guys going to do staging? I mean, I'm concerned about that, because if you do staging, if I were you, I would take the surface lot right next door that you're not going to build on and use that, and there's more parking deficit. One of the things that I'm also concerned about, the presentation said that all elements of this project are going to be elevated, which is a wonderful thing for sustainability and resilience and sea level rise. But I am concerned that water drainage has to go somewhere. And if this is the first project that's being built, and even the pedestrian promenade is going to be elevated 5 or 6 feet, when there is a big storm, 126th Street already floods. I can't imagine what it would look like even after, if 126 is improved, you know, the infrastructure is improved. Drainage is a big concern for the properties that are not being redeveloped. Now, regarding the amenities that they're so graciously offering to the town, you don't have to have a great memory to remember that the city of North Miami sold that 17th Avenue to Johnson & Wales University so the university students can traverse from 126 to 127, from 126 to 127th without having traffic going back and forth.
Okay.
All of a sudden, you know, that became, I'm sorry, Mike, did you want to say something, or am I running out of-
Your time is up.
You know, I request a little bit of extra time, since we are actually the property that is most affected by this development.
Can we
And-
vote on giving him additional time, or can we allow him?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to let him finish.
Okay. Everybody in agreement?
I'm almost done. I'm
Okay.
almost done.
All right.
You know,
Continue.
you know, you know, so that's that promenade, which, you know, I was kind of surprised to see. I was glad to see that the actual building is not going on top of it, but, I mean, less than a decade ago, that was a street in the city of North Miami. So, and all the sitting council members kind of don't remember the transaction, because I think I even asked Ms. Love for a copy of the sales agreement, and no one seems to be able to answer me on that one. But I'm sure that they will. You know, those were my main concerns, and although I didn't have time, you know, I mean, if it makes a difference, I think we're going to be hiring an attorney to represent the HOA. And, you know, I think the massing is just a little bit too much, even though I know that the zoning just changed. I think the massing is a bit much. And you guys, you know, this planning commission are the palace guards. And since this is the first development in this new zoning area, because the ink is not even dry on the code that just changed, you know, I think you should be a little bit more conservative just to see how things go. So
Okay.
we'll stay in touch, and I am grateful for the extra time and to be allowed to present in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
What was I'm sorry, I didn't get the address of his home, of the HOA.
It's not my home, it's my office.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. Was that,
It's
that's
one,
the
two-
office building?
It's the office building.
Oh, okay,
It's
thank
the
you.
office-
When you said HOA, I was,
Yeah, it's an office condo.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Office condo, okay. All right, anyone else like to speak? You have 2 minutes, sir.
Great evening. My name is Andre Pierre, 2125 Northeast 121st Street. I'd just like to say I'm in full support of this project. I think the city of North Miami needs more wonderful, great-looking buildings. First off, I would just like to say that, like, you know, the economic standpoint of basically what I've seen so far about the revenue it's going to bring into the city and all that. I remember a couple of years ago, the city would just tax its residents when it needed money, but now we have more development going on in the city that's going to bring more money into the city to, you know, do more improvement to like other things that are around the city, like Keystone Park that needs major improvements, and, you know, all the other old community buildings that just also need some more improvement. That's all I really want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to come and speak before the project?
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair and members of this Planning Commission. My name is Andre Pierre. I represent the developer. Just three things briefly I'd like to address. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for serving. I can tell you 20 years ago, that was the first board that I ever served in the city of North Miami. You are the gatekeeper. You understand the future of North Miami. All of these development, you have to approve them. You're the first one that get a chance to see them. So I'm very proud to say that, you know, I got my first start with this board, and thank you so much for serving well. Secondly, we have been engaged this community since the developer approached the city with this project. And Chief, if you remember, we had a community meeting with Matter Academy, which you attended,
right,
and a lot of
exactly.
people attended.
Right.
Invited the community to hear about what's happening on that site and the kind of development that would bring on that site. So there was that meeting. In addition to that, the office condo that Ms. Isaac just mentioned too, majority of the owners that are there, we have engaged and we have talked to them. In fact, I just text a couple of them that wanted to come here to support that project, but they weren't sure that Isaac would be speaking against the project. So they will be here in case there would be further meetings supporting this project, because they think that this is time that we have a beautiful building. And I would like, can you show that building again? What, you know, this developer decided to bring to the great city of North Miami. So, thank you. So I'm not going to speak about, you know, how beautiful the project is. I mean, I think we all know that, and I think everybody spoke in a favor and how iconic this building is, the view, that open space. You know, we have not seen that around here. And for them to do that, let's talk about how good neighbor that they have been, you know, since they came to North Miami. To begin with, I mentioned about how they've been involved in the community. The president for TD Bank, Javier, we have sat down and talked to him, including some of his employees, you know, that are there, and they are in support of the project. We also spoke with Envio's Pizza, which they love to see that project coming to that city. Around the other side where the small apartment buildings are, I think they're like 2 stories on the west side on 16th Avenue. All of them are supporting this project, including some of the people that live in that, including the condo office building where Isaac just mentioned that, you know, they're in support of this project. Moreover, the lots, the parking, the surface space that they're on, okay, they have agreed, okay, with the city that I think all of you have been there, all of you have parked at their space with, which they're on, and they allow the city residents, the city staff, and the city council to come and park there. In fact, in a couple weeks, I think we're having a big event, which is the dedication of the Councilman Galvin Center. All of you is going to be allowed to park there. In addition to that, we had discussion with the city manager, with the city attorney, with the city staff, basically saying that we are going to resolve that parking problem that they have at the Scott Galvin Community Center. So one of the conditions, I'm not sure if that was mentioned, is basically how we're going to work out parking. So far, there's not been a commitment on how much parking that would work out for the city, but the developer is willing to be a good neighbor to provide that to the great city of North Miami. So,
Excuse me, sir, I think your 2 minutes
Yes.
are up. Thank you.
okay.
Well,
just
1 second, Mr. Pierre. So we should vote to let him finish?
You don't need to vote. You have discretion to allow him to continue.
Okay. Mr. Pierre, please
Right.
continue, but make it short.
So this is a market rate project that they are building there. But if you look at the benefits package, and I think Andre Jr. just mentioned that to you, $1.1 million in new taxes to the city of North Miami, $2.1 million in impact fees, permit fees that we would be paying to the city of North Miami. In addition to that, although it's not a commitment that was made, but the developers has agreed basically to go directly into your North Miami vendors list and trying to find vendors, local residents, local businesses to work on this project. And not only that, they promised to do so, they have done so in many different occasions with the project that they have done. In fact, when they were looking for someone to demolish a building in the city of North Miami, the first thing that they did, they went down in the city of North Miami to find a vendor to do so. When they were looking for someone, a security company, they went down there to find vendors to do so. So although there's not a written commitment that was made, but they have done it. They have walked the walk, and they have done what I think, you know, all developers should do for the great city of North Miami.
Okay.
A couple months ago, you approved a similar project on 124, which is the related project, and basically, I mean, it's 2 blocks away. So it's, you know, it's what, 50 units or 100 units more than the one that you have approved. So we have engaged the community. We have, you know, support this community. We have the package. We have done more than what most developers have done when they come to you before this board. And I want to thank them for coming here from Chicago. They are local. In fact, you know, I think one of the developers live in the city of North Miami or nearby, and basically his office is 1 block away from City Hall, right down the street, which I think, Mr. Vice Chair, that you're aware of it. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to address you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay. Okay, public comment is closed. Board?
Mr. Chair, if I may add a
Yes.
point. What you saw on their site plan was 7 additional on-street parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
The city is, they're not going to be doing that. The city is actually undertaking, building parking along 127th
Mm-hmm.
to accommodate both, just general parking.
Mm-hmm.
So while they had proposed 7, the city's moving forward with additional, they're going to handle it themselves with additional spaces along there where people were parking in the swell. They're going to convert that to actual parking spaces. But that's being managed through Public Works. So they're not going to produce those 7 on-street parking spaces. It'll be whatever Public Works is going to be working on.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just one comment on community benefits agreements or packages.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding, which is somewhat limited on those kinds of programs, is that this is not within the scope of the requirements that can be imposed by this
Exactly.
commission, or even taken into evaluation as to whether they are providing it or not. It is not an externality or an impact that is caused by the development itself. It's a benefit to the community, which is typically negotiated by third parties. And it's not, I checked with the city attorney, it's not a requirement in our code.
Yeah, in the city of North Miami, you're
Yes.
correct. In other cities, yes, but not in North Miami, unfortunately. So, start at the left end here, Ms. Clark.
I just had a question for Debbie. Debbie, by right, they're allowed 19 stories and then 450 units. They're not asking for any units from the city, correct?
I'm sorry, they're not asking for what, sir?
Any additional, they're not taking any units from our reserves?
Yeah, there's no underlying density. As I mentioned in my presentation, the underlying zoning doesn't have residential. The only way they can get it is to come out of our pool.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Bob?
I think my only concern about the project, I think it's great. I think it's a beautiful project. I think it's just the lack of affordable housing units or any being allocated for affordable housing. Just, it being market rate right now, as everyone knows, the market is very high, especially when it comes to renting. So that's really my only concern.
Okay. Dr. Besson?
No, I have no further questions, other than, I'm sorry, what is your name again, please?
Devin Vickers.
Devin, this document does come from the Florida Department of State, and it does say foreign liability company, and your
So if I may just address
Yeah, I'm just
that.
curious why that hadn't been looked at. That should be in the due diligence before you come in front of the committee.
So if I think I want to make a clarification on that. When you see documents that say foreign limited liability, does not necessarily mean that it's foreign as to a foreign country outside of the United States, but a foreign entity outside of the state of Florida.
Okay.
So I think that goes to what we were saying earlier, that this is an entity that was incorporated, or I'm sorry, not incorporated, but was domiciled in Chicago. So I think that explains why it says it's a foreign limited liability company.
Thank you for educating me.
No problem. I had to be educated myself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Medina? No? Okay. Mr. Each?
For years, I lived on Emerald Drive, 3 blocks from that project. I'm excited about it. I'm right there. I'm one of your neighbors. And I can remember for years when that was a trailer park, when I was in the police department, it was absolutely a despicable place. Johnson and Wales came along. It was a big hue and a cry why they had to move the trailer park out and put a sports field in there. And obviously, you guys are coming in. There's a lot of concerns. I think it's going to be a good project. I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
It's okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, there's no doubt, I don't think anybody can question, Devin, this is a gorgeous project. You're going to have some challenges. of course, and, but I think it's a beautiful project, and, you know, I'm in favor of it for sure. And I think you got a good team, and I think that it'll do well for the city, and I think offer some opportunities for, hopefully, I'm really glad to hear how you've reached out to the community in reference to trying to make sure that we have local preference in place to bring in, you know, local businesses wherever possible. So that's a very good thing. So anyway, all of that being said, do I hear a motion
Well,
to approve?
Before we motion,
Yeah.
could I hear her rebuke or, I mean, we had a community member come up and state some very concerning items. I'd
Right, I
love to
did-
hear your
yes.
opinion on that.
Yes, so I did want to put on the record that we were happy to meet with the president of the HOA just to discuss some of these issues. But also, we just wanted to clarify that, to his point, as far as the parking garage entry, there are separate entries. One is located on Northeast 127th Street, and then we have entry located on Northeast 126th Street. So it's not all centralized to 126th Street. As well as the traffic, we agreed that we'd go back in between the interim between now and city council to kind of incorporate some of those approved projects that you mentioned, as well as the school, to kind of update our traffic study to make sure that those signalized sections and 126th Street and 127th are still operating at capacity. As well as to his point about the parking located on the west parcel. As of right now, our staging plans, although they're not finalized, we do plan. The good thing about our site is that it's large enough to where we can construct on our site and also house a portion of staging on that vacant parcel. So we don't intend to have staging on that complete surface parking lot. So there will be spaces that will continue to be maintained, not just after construction, but during construction, that will be open, you know, and continue to serve as they're serving now. And as well as the promenade, you know, we can't control what happened in the past regarding the sale of that property. All we can do is control the cards we've been dealt. And the fact is that our clients own that property, and instead of building on top of that property, they have decided to give that property as a public benefit, and not just for the residents, but for the community. And so that will close my rebuttal. Again, we will be more than happy to meet with you and can set up a time to meet with the HOA president outside of today. But that will close my rebuttal, and we would really appreciate a recommendation or a staff of approval.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Debbie.
A last point that I would like to make to that is that for drainage purposes, they will have to not only retain their own stormwater on site.
Yeah.
They have to go do it enhanced. Enhanced is 10% over the bare minimum. Plus, they are doing absorbent landscape. So you'll see that that promenade is landscaped. And so it will be, during DRC, they will have to show how they are maintaining all that stormwater on site. And that's through their civil engineering. So just wanted to let you know that it's not a free-for-all, that that water's just gonna flow off. They'll have to retain it on site.
Okay, all right, we have, Mr. Each, you made a motion to approve?
Yes.
There was a
Make a motion
second.
to approve.
There was a second? Yes?
That would be with conditions as amended.
With those conditions
Yeah.
previously mentioned.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. You have a second? Okay, can we have a roll call, please? Secretary?
Vice Chair McDermott?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who made the motion.
Kenny Each made the motion. Commissioner Each made the motion. Commissioner Benson seconded the motion.
Commissioner Medina?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Bob?
No.
Benson.
Dr. Besson with the, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you seconded. Dr. Besson
Yes.
and Commissioner East.
Yes. Yes.
A tie is acceptable for going forward to the city commission, right?
So this will move to city council. As I said, it's tentative for 11.
Thank you so much, commissioners, for your time.
No, depending on where the money comes from.
Okay. Yes. Okay, we're going to take a 3-minute break.
Yeah, you guys just gave me a call, Kenny Each. No, I don't have time right now, but tomorrow will be good. Thank you.
It's okay.
In the future, once how do you call,
Yes. Will it come up with you, yeah? Let's see. Can you just scroll through it and just see what it is? Okay. Yeah, we just need to zoom out just a little bit on it if we can. And that's it. Oh, that's perfect. Can I just make sure that it has, you scroll through it?
Dame como 5 minutos para llamarte ahorita. too big? It's okay. Yeah, it'll come up. Okay. Okay, then at least it's there. Okay, you can go all the way back. Okay. Okay. Well, perfect. Yeah, and it's just if they want us to do it because they may not.
No, we're not talking about.
Oh.
sure the next one goes quick, how's that?
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I lost the number, I should. Let's see.
Mr. Chair, are you ready?
Yeah, just keep it on, we'll do it later. Okay, back from the break. Okay, we're moving on with PC 17-64, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, terminating the previously approved development agreement issued under Resolution 2019-R012 and approving an application for a conditional use permit in substantially the attached form for a mixed-use development consisting of a 10-story, 383-unit apartment building with 490 parking spaces and 14,291 square feet of ground-level retail and restaurant space on a parcel of real property located at 1850 Northeast 123rd Street, identified with Miami-Dade folio number 06-2228-001-0270, and totaling approximately 4.13 acres in accordance with Article 3, Division 4, Section 3-402 through 3-407, Article 4, Division 2, Section 4-202, Section 4-203A, and Section 4-205, and Article 4, Division 3, Section 4-310 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Okay, staff report?
Are there any disclosures from commissioners?
No.
No.
All right. Once again, for the record, Debbie Love, City Planner, Community Planning and Development. The project before you is a slight update to a previously approved development. Prior to a change in our code in 2019, a development agreement was required instead of a conditional use permit when you developed in the Biscayne PCD. It was an anomaly that we fixed, and now we require conditional use permits versus a development agreement. So the applicant has come back to request additional units added to their project and an additional floor added as well to accommodate the additional units. So you have a twofold on this one. It's a request to terminate the existing development agreement and then reissue through a conditional use permit. So the totality of the project is it's located at 1850 Northeast 123rd Street. It's a little over 4 acres in size. It's currently vacant, as you can see on the slide. I believe it was a former
Car dealership.
Dodge, wasn't it like Chrysler or something?
Monroe Zeta Chrysler.
Yeah, I think it was
Plymouth.
Chrysler, yes, yes, sir, thank you for that. And the underlying zoning is C2BE, which caps out the height at 55 feet, but they're also in the Biscayne PCD, and the different PCDs along the corridors are all different. Some of them have a difference in height, some have a difference in density. In this case, this PCD allows 110 feet and 125 dwelling units per acre. So that development agreement, the previous development agreement, was for a 9-story, 297-unit mixed-use development with 15,481 square feet of commercial space. They are reducing that commercial space down to 14,291, adding an additional floor, taking it to 10 stories, and adding 86 additional units. The proposal itself will total 383 luxury apartments. Again, it's the 15,272 square feet of commercial space. They have an integrated 2-level parking garage with 490 parking spaces and 111 surface parking spaces. It is a beautifully designed project. It had staff and community support before. They have now come back with this modification. Again, this is another project where they'll have to do enhanced stormwater retention. They're at the minimum 10% over. They have to do low-impact development, which again manages stormwater, certified green building, and the typical that we always require is 100% Florida native vegetation, and they will have public art requirement. The economic impact, they updated their economic study that was done many years ago when this was first approved, to include 504 short-term direct, indirect jobs during the construction period, which is estimated about 2 years. They will have, which will generate approximately $37 million in wages. Post-construction, it would be 136 full-time jobs with $7.9 million in direct and indirect expenditures of the residents into the community in Miami-Dade County as a whole. That's the anticipated what would be spent by the residents of that development. $3.55 million annually in ad valorem, and about almost $6 million in impact and development fees will come to the city. Some of the conditions, we pulled in the conditions from the development agreement and into this and added our standardized conditional use permit conditions as well. So you'll see that what they are required to do will be, they have to do this 10-foot wide sidewalk along 123rd, and then 6 along Northeast 18th and 121st Street frontages. All their utilities, as we are requiring for every development, has to be underground. These transportation improvements came from their development agreement that was negotiated as a community benefit. $25,000 per year into our transportation impact fund for 4 years. The 4 years starts, I believe it's like 16 months after, I want to say after they get CO. That's when it starts counting. They will need to update crash data and include the segment of 123rd adjacent to the site as part of DRC final approval. So that's going to be something that DRC is going to require because they have to meet that standard. They will need to provide pedestrian and bicycle connections to public transit. So making sure that those connections to bus stops, and that's primarily it through our bus stops, are those connections. We've been trying to get many of our developments to do this because it requires off-site connections. It's very hard to get our new development to do this. This was negotiated, so they have to do this, and I'm really excited about getting this. And then with FDOT, they will need to coordinate because they may have to, depending on what FDOT's going to require, they may have to prepare a traffic management plan if that's necessary with FDOT. But these were already negotiated items in the development agreement, and they will move forward into the conditional use permit. So again, this is another one of those projects. As I told you, there were 2 that we're bringing forward on the 18th tentatively, assuming that that is maintained. Again, they'll have to do DRC and then come back to city council for final site plan approval. The applicant is here, and I believe they have a PowerPoint that they would like to make a brief presentation.
Okay.
And then they're here to answer any questions.
Before we
you
do
may
that,
have.
we
Yes,
need
sir.
to get everybody, swear everybody in. Okay, all those will be commenting or speaking tonight on this project. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Let Junior get you set up. You may want to go over there so you can run your PowerPoint.
Good evening, Commission members. I am Carla Jones with the Law Office of Carla Jones, PA. I am the attorney for the developer. It's La Maison, formerly known as Causeway Village. As you know, the developer is a local developer with offices located in the LA Fitness building. Ms. Laura Tauber is here as the principal of the developer. Mr. Javier Font is here with Bear and Font, the architects. Just wanted to make one comment before I turn it over to Javier to get you familiar with the project. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the project. The project itself, the footprint of the project has not changed. The project only goes up to 10 feet within its rights within the LDR. So the maximum amount of units that this developer can build within the zoning is 500. Well, the maximum amount of units that the developer can build is 500 units. However, the developer is only asking to build 383, which is an additional 86 units above what this commission and the city council and the community have already approved. The other statement I would like to make is, I know Debbie mentioned that the units are luxury units, and they are luxury units. However, they're being sold at market rate. And I will turn it over to Javier.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Javier Font, Behar Font and Partners, 4533 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Coral Gables, Florida, architects for the project. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with the site, and some of you might be familiar with the original project, but I'll take you through it real quick. This is a much longer presentation, but I'll skip through some pages. Just if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I just wanted to point out some of the major points of the project. So it's a just over a 4-acre site. We're allowed 125 units per acre, which brings us to 516 units, give or take. But we're building under 100 units per acre, so we're still well within the density. As Debbie said, we're going up to 110 feet, which is what's allowed by right on the site. But we could go up to 150, I think, with the benefits of the green and other benefits of the city. So we're staying well within the development capacity of the site. One of the great things about this site is the access to the site. So we see projects of this scale a lot of times where you have one way into the site or one way out of the site. This site, actually having streets on 3 sides, actually allows us to come in. We've got 2 curb cuts on 123rd. There's actually 3 vehicular access points on, let me see if you might be able to see it better on this one. Yes. So you've got 2 curb cuts off of 123rd. You've got 3 curb cuts into our parking in the front, parking garage, and our loop road in the back, and then you've got a way out to the east as well. So the traffic in this site flows very well. We've made sure that you can sort of traverse around the entire site, and if you want to go out a certain way or come in a certain way, you can do so. So what we've done on the site is we've lined the entire front of the building with retail. So everything you see across the front of the building is retail. You've got great accessible parking right at the front. So easy in and out for our customers, and the idea is to have 2 restaurants on the bookends and then have some convenience retail in the middle. And then the parking for the entire building is sort of hidden behind that retail. One of the great things about this building is we've limited our parking garage to 2 floors. So when you look at the front of the building, you've got the retail on the ground floor and then a double height arcade that kind of hides that parking. So you see absolutely no parking from the front. And you'll see we've treated this building as if it has 4 front facades. And that's one of the nicest features of the building. On the back side, we've done our main lobby. So you've got a loop road on the bottom of your sheet there. You see a loop road that brings you to the lobby at the bottom of the drawing. And then there's a pedestrian spine that takes you from the front of the property through the retail component, through the parking garage, and into that lobby again. So we have a front door that has retail. We have our back door that has our main lobby, and you'll see the side elevations that we've done as well, just to create a building that's all the way around a really pleasant residential building. We don't need art covering a big parking garage or anything like that. So the second floor, that's the ground floor, as you can see, completely lined in the front and most of it lined in the rear. So you have no views of parking from either the front or the rear. Our second floor is all parking, but it's hidden behind that double height arcade and behind some canopies or canvases on the other areas. Our third floor is probably the greatest feature in this building. We have over an acre pool deck. And so the building wraps in a U around this great pool deck, and it has as many amenities as you can mention, right? We've got club rooms, kids rooms, gym, everything you can imagine will be in this building. And then our floor plan is actually very simple. It's nice, simple U. All of the interior units face that great courtyard, and all the exterior units are on some sort of either on a major street, or the ones on the east have lower developments on that side, so we'll get great views as well. So there really isn't a bad unit in this building. That's the same floor plans going up. These are the elevations, and I'll scan through them. This is the front, the retail. There's a main piece in the center. You can see the little where the building steps back in the middle, and we create these trellis areas at the pool deck. And you see the large canopies right above the retail windows, which hide the parking behind them, so you really have no idea that there's any parking there. This is our rear elevation, or our main lobby elevation for our residential component. One of the side elevations, a section through the building. These are sort of 2 of the elevations with the sort of materials and the idea, a nice contemporary building with a lot of clean finishes. And then these are 2 renderings. One is the rear of the building and the other one's the front of the building, but you can tell how nice they both look, right? And like I said, we've designed the building with all 4 elevations in mind. And as Carla said, basically what we're doing is we raised the floor, added some units, and turned in the courtyard just a little bit, but the base of the building is the same. The impact on the site is the same. The landscape plans really didn't change because everything stayed identical to what it was originally. So it's a very minor change, but a major improvement to the number of units and the quality of these units for the community. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have it. Yes.
Could you go over the access to the building as far as the parking goes?
Sure.
Looking at the rendering. If you're coming east from this main
So,
Mic on.
Or is that a stacking lane for turning?
so if you're coming westbound, this is a stacking lane that allows you
No,
to.
no,
Yeah,
eastbound.
we can't see
Eastbound.
anything.
Oh,
Let's try
eastbound, yes,
I'll
I'm
get to
sorry.
westbound.
I'm coming from the west, eastbound. You're absolutely
Yes.
right. That's a stacking lane or a decel lane that allows you to come in. And that was, one of the negotiations we had. This building, the last time it came through, we had a couple years' worth of negotiations between the city, FDOT, community. We had great community input at that time, did many meetings with the neighbors, and basically landed on this, and that's probably why you don't see anybody here, is because it was, a very long process the last time. But, so you can turn left there, or you can turn left at the next one, a little more eastbound, if you will. And then if you're coming out, you can take a right off going eastbound. If
Okay,
you-
so the access to the parking garage could be from the front of the building on 123rd Street as well as on Northeast 18th Avenue?
Correct, so the
Okay.
parking garage has three, well, if you come in either one of those entrances
Yes.
off of 123rd, you can come and get into the parking garage. There's 2 points in the parking garage, I know you can't see where I'm pointing. But if you look at the right-hand side of the drawing,
Mhm.
where there is a little pink square,
Yes.
okay, that's a fire truck, or apparatus setup site for a fire truck. So right there is one entrance to the garage, and then if you go directly to the west of that or to the left of that, there's another entrance there. So there's 2 entrances to the parking garage. So you can come in to the parking garage off of, I think that's 18th on the left? 18th, so you can come directly.
Yes.
So, let's say I was eastbound, I could take a right on 18th, take a
Right.
left into the retail parking, or I could come further down and take a left directly into the parking garage, or I can come a little further down, and then there's the pickup drop-off area at the base of that basically puts you at the front door of what would be the residential lobby.
Okay, how do you access the building going westbound?
So westbound, you would have to, you'd come in off of 122nd. So you'd be coming westbound, you turn at the street that has the light prior to us. You can turn
Well,
there.
What
and
what
make-
light are we
and-
talking about now? San Souci Boulevard? Because there's no light that I'm aware of between San Souci Boulevard
Well,
and Biscayne Boulevard on 123rd Street.
There is no light there.
Maybe there's no light, maybe I misspoke.
There is
So
none.
if you're coming,
Right, yeah,
Right.
but how do you? Come on up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
she knows the site a lot better than I do, that's for sure.
He draws, we talk.
Can
Hi,
you
Laura
name and-
Tauber.
Laura, yeah, name and address, yeah.
1801 Northeast 123rd Street, Suite 300. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you again. We're very proud to bring this project before you. We've met numerous times with FDOT. We've met with your city traffic engineer. We've talked about this, and we've looked at, because we operate the building across the street, we're very cognizant of the traffic. We've told
Which-
everyone.
Is that the LA Fitness?
The LA Fitness Building. We built that and own and operate it. And we have told FDOT and we've told Debbie and the city that if there is a desire to put a traffic light there, not only will we support it, we'll pay for it. We'd love it. But right now, FDOT doesn't want that. They've done studies and they don't think it's necessary. So if you're heading westbound, you can make a left on 19th just before the self-storage facility.
That's the gas station over there. Yeah,
There's
Exxon
a gas station on
and-
the
right.
east side and the new self-storage on the west, and then you can come in where Javier pointed out that easterly entrance.
No, I understand.
Okay.
So here's the question. You make a left turn there, but if there's oncoming traffic going east, what lane are you in? Is there a turn lane in the middle there?
There
Between
is
the
a,
2 lanes going east, 2 lanes going west?
We're
Otherwise,
gonna-
you're
we're gonna
tie up the
look.
lane on 123rd Street and back the traffic up to the bridge.
there is a decel lane for the eastbound, and I don't think there's a decel lane for the westbound. There is if you go to 18th, though, behind the Walgreens. I think there begins, is there a decel lane there,
Yeah,
Debbie?
because you have to make a left turn on
So
Biscayne.
they would go there and then choose one of the 3 entrances that we have on 18th. that's directly behind the Arcade Center Shopping Center.
Maybe. So would you be willing to put a traffic light there? Because that would solve all your traffic problems going east.
Not only willing, I
Northwest, I'm
attest
sorry.
right now, we'd be happy to pay for it.
As she mentioned, it's a problem for FDOT. And it's an FDOT road, and they won't
So
support
it's not
signal.
our jurisdiction, so to speak?
No, sir.
No, you can't, if it's FDOT, just forget it. They have not a clue what they're doing.
We have met with them, and I'm happy to do it again. We would support it, and we would like it, and Javier's been with me, and
It's just the
point well
intersection
made.
there gets just completely,
Every day I
Mind-boggling.
navigate it. I agree, and we would support it, and as I said, we'll pay for it. Be my pleasure.
well, I guess we're not the guys to talk to them.
Thank you.
Ladies.
I wanted to have one additional comment. So the goal for this project is a live, work, play. And let me just detail for you some of the amenities that's going to be in this project. So the goal is people will maybe leave to go to work or walk across the street to the LA Fitness offices to go to work. And when they get home, they just stay home. So on the third level, there's a pool, clubhouse, a business center, game room. There's a ground level dog park. There's going to be public art spaces and ground level retail and restaurants. So the goal is hopefully this project will be more like a live, work, play type of project.
When is the expected groundbreaking or start date?
As soon as possible. I would ask Debbie when we're on the council, what are our next dates if you all support the project? As soon as possible. We've begun our construction documents. I hope they'll be complete in another 6 weeks, 8 weeks,
Well,
and
The plan
if
for the
it's-
original design, we're 100% completed and in for permit, and now we're doing the revisions, and I believe within the next 2 weeks, we'll have construction documents for this final phase, 2 to 4 weeks.
we would love to break ground as soon as possible.
They should be finished with their process, with DRC, coming back to city council, I suspect in January.
Yeah.
And then right after that, back to the
But we have gone through, I think 2 full rounds of comments, at least one, maybe 2 full rounds of comments in the building department for the original scheme. And this scheme changes it very little, so this is a very real project in that sense, right? That there is a set of drawings that we can pull a permit from very quickly.
I understand what you're asking for. Can I ask what's the reason for deviating from the initial? What's initiating the ask for an additional floor and an additional 86 units?
Yeah, we believe in North Miami, and we want to bring more residents here. I've been developing it, I'm going to give it away now, for more than 2 decades in your municipality. And the more people, the more residential that we can bring, especially in this area. Carla mentioned, live, work, play, but the walkability of this site is very interesting. There's the Walgreens, there's the Arcade Center, there's new little restaurants in the downstairs of my LA Fitness building. The restaurants there are vibrant. They do very, very well economically. And there's Whole Foods, and there's new things going around here, which is very nice. And so we think it's a very good area for more people to live. This North Miami has been behind other communities and unrecognized, and now it really is getting the recognition it deserves.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, is that it? Okay. I'm opening public hearing, forum. Anybody? Doesn't seem to be anybody here, so we close that. Any board? Starting at the end?
Nothing.
Bob?
Are any of the units allocated for affordable housing?
No, not in this project.
Okay. Dr. Medina?
That's me. Hi. This is the first project that I got involved myself in when I quit going to the beach and started coming to things here in the city. So my recollection is that the public wasn't that animated to get the project going. Neither Carol Keys voted against it. And so I like the project, you know, I have problems with the traffic, of course. I mean, the books they use and the methodology is like a C-level kind of book, and they're very books and methodologies to use. It's going to be a mess, especially there is a lot of accidents of people entering Walgreens and the bus stopping, and people trying to get past by the left, and then they hit each other. So you have to mitigate that in some way, or it's not all. It's very close to you, you know, when that happened.
And that's a very good point, thank you. We actually spoke with your city, excuse me for the nomenclature, not the traffic engineer, I'm not sure of his title, who came up to the building, we put a camera, a time lapse so that he could record a few days. And then we studied the police reports for crashes, and there were very few reported there. We share the same concern, and that's my comment about a traffic light or some kind of mitigation. We've spoken with FDOT. They're not supporting it right now, but we'll continue to do that. I have to enter and exit that area multiple times a day because I office there. So I understand the concern. But there aren't a lot of crashes per your police department records reported there. But we are, again, on the record, I'm willing to do whatever is supported and recommended or mandated by FDOT and or the City of North Miami.
And how about outreach? Because there is a lot of apartments, small unit apartments behind you. What have you done regarding that?
Well, we noticed all of them. I think we mailed 540 notices of this meeting. Prior to the previous approval, I probably did at least a dozen community outreach meetings, and we'll do another one before the next city council meeting.
Okay.
We do it locally, we do it nearby. I notice it well, and I always have a very nice turnout. And everyone that shows up has my number, and for the people that know me well, they call, and I'm happy to speak with every single neighbor. For the last one, we walked the neighborhoods with them. Carla and I did. Many evenings to walk around, look at the lighting, look at different things. So we always want to be a good neighbor.
Okay.
But thank you for your comment, I agree. And I'm happy to discuss it further whenever you'd like. Because
Thanks. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Each?
No, I think it's a great project. It's a piece of property, has been an eyesore for years. It's a way to bring in the tax dollars, give people a decent place to live. You know, there's no government subsidy on this. There's no CRA money or anything else. And we have put up buildings, or we have approved projects in the past which have affordable housing. I don't believe that every building in the city has to be affordable housing. Some should be luxury, some should be market rate. I just mentioned to Debbie a little while ago, I said, I wonder if we could pass a zoning where you just strictly have condominiums, like we see that one going up now at the White House Inn. I like to see people live in the city and put their roots here. And if you have more condos, you have more home ownership. You know, apartments have a tendency to be transitory, unless it's hopefully upscale luxury, and usually they stay longer, from my understanding, when I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of months ago. And I think it's a great project, and I think it's going to do great for the city. And like you said, I mean, you're more than willing to put a traffic light out there. I walk that street. I walk it daily, and I understand the traffic, and I understand the concerns of Dr. Medina and everybody. I mean, it's problematic, but it's workable. So, thank you. I'm in favor. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it will certainly be a great upgrade from the sand and dirt that is sitting there right now. That's for sure. I drive by that all the time, and I go, Oh, gosh, you know. So, anyway, do I hear a motion to approve? Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Wait, that,
sorry.
curb your enthusiasm.
I apologize.
Okay, Vice Chair McDermott,
Yes.
Commissioner Each,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina,
Yes.
Commissioner Bob,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
and Commissioner Besson.
Yes.
Okay, all agree.
Okay. All right, thank you all very much for coming.
And we'll see you on the 18th.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll keep you apprised of that. And anybody that wants to help with FDOT, we've met with them a couple times.
Oh.
I'm ready to
Don't
go
even,
next
no.
April. We agree, so.
I know the Chinese woman, she likes
So nice to see you. Thank you for
After?
all here.
What a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, but there's not no Chinese woman.
Okay, do we have any, guys, do we have any committee reports, Debbie?
Yes, sir.
Any old business?
No, sir?
Couple of things under new business, Debbie?
We have one new thing. I want to remind everybody
Guys?
that we have the comprehensive plan update on, for public hearing before Planning Commission on November 14th. At your request, you all agreed that you want to do more of a high level, but you want to have a little bit more of a discussion on the growth section. Again, I hope that you all are telling all of your network about going to the website. There's a link in the planning department that will take you there as well. There's a section to subscribe, to get notifications of anything that's uploaded. You can also make comment, make suggestions, take a survey, and do a mapping exercise. And I know Dr. Medina has been very active in disseminating and trying to get people to come. And for us, this is the first place people are going to see the material. And that's kind of why this Planning Commission is fun, because we get to actually have, people get to see and we get to talk to folks in a little less of a rushed environment than city council meetings are.
Okay,
So
Debbie,
we
not,
hope-
not the 17th?
No, sir, not the 17th.
14th?
It's the 14th at 7 PM. It was scheduled for the 17th, but that's when the,
Scott Galvin's.
yeah, the community center renaming. So this has been challenging to find a right date, because there's a lot of things going on in the city around that same week.
Sally Hayman's retirement thing, too.
Yeah, too, same
Lots
day.
of things going on.
7 p.m., you said?
7 o'clock.
You said you're going to have the material to us about 10 days ahead?
Yes,
if you
sir.
can?
Our goal is to send it, have it uploaded for you, for the community, at least 10 days in advance of the meeting, to give everybody an opportunity to go through it, mark it up, make your comments, and be ready if you all have specific questions for certain things, or if you don't see something that you think is a good idea in there. We will be documenting all of your recommendations, comments, suggestions, and then those will be put into the staff report that goes to city council with all of your recommendations documented.
Debbie, are we going to get a hard copy, or?
It's up to you all.
I would
We're
like
trying to
I would like a hard copy.
Okay, we have asked, we're trying to go digital because we kill a lot of trees. So if you don't, we ask that you not be limited to how many sets that we print of, and keep it online as much as possible. But we do know that Commissioner Each, and we also know that Chair Ernst always likes hard copies. And if Dr. Medina would like one, it's just, remember, it's going to be fairly thick. The comp plan isn't like the LDRs. The LDRs is like
Right.
that, right? Comp plan is about like that. So it shouldn't be too big, and we always do it double-sided. So if you don't need a hard copy, that would be great, but if you need a hard copy, let Cynthia know that you want a hard copy. Okay, so that's it for us.
Now, I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And it's really a concern. You know, tonight we approved 832 units. If you look at the number of units right now between the last project we approved in City Hall, we have 1,700 units that have been approved. Now that doesn't even include the 400 units under the P3.
Under the what?
Under the
downtown initiative.
Downtown edition.
Oh, okay.
Now you're talking 2,300 units. 2,300 units between basically Biscayne Boulevard and City Hall. And we have to, I think, and of all those units, only one has affordable housing set-asides. Only one. Only one has done anything about community benefits. These are all market rate, high profit projects that are market rate, okay, or luxury. And only one has any community benefits package for us. Only one has any set aside for affordable housing. And I'll tell you how a lot of this gets rectified. And unfortunately, we're not one of the cities who has codified any kind of requirements for affordable housing. And that is, we used to make sure that before they came to us, there was a community meeting. Okay? Somehow that got changed. Now, I understand the young lady who was here with the first project. She's very nice. Project's a great project. And she says, yes, sure, I'll do a community meeting. But how's she going to do a community meeting between tonight and the 17th of November? So I think we really need to look at making sure that that old process of making sure that there were community meetings where people could put input into the project and into community benefits. What are you doing for us kind of thing, prior than just coming to us blank without anybody having any real input, is something that we really need to take a look at, I think.
Well, as you know, we always ask. We always tell them, you need to do this. We always tell them, go talk to each one of the council members. Nothing in our code requires, we don't require affordable housing. Florida statute says that if you are going to demand a set-aside, you need to make sure that you are paying for that.
Who's paying for it? The city?
Yeah. Which is why you don't see any of these inclusionary zoning ordinances where it was always like a percentage of it, unless they are giving them a specific density bonus that's not available to everybody else. in
Well,
exchange
almost
for that.
all of our units, all the projects that we have had come before us, I think except for one, in my observation, have drawn from the pool.
Right, but that doesn't mean anything when our code doesn't support that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We
That's in
need
the
to work on
LDRs though, sir.
on the code.
Sure.
And we need to put something in place where, where we make sure that affordable housing is addressed. We're one of the poorest communities in Dade County. The people here in this community need help. Okay? Not only jobs, they need sustainability, which means they need housing. They need ongoing. Am I just babbling on here? Or what? We really need to, address these issues because they're very important long run.
Well, you'll see that what we've done is we've beefed up some of the housing policies. We can't put LDRs in the comp plan. Things like requiring a community, a certain set-aside or...
But you can do that separately. When I was at the FRA, there's a lot of cities, and some city attorneys were there talking about how to creatively make that happen. So it is happening.
Right. No, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen here. What I'm saying to you is there's two steps. One, we've got the policies now. We're beefing. You'll see once we submit them to you that we're beefing up policies related to affordable housing. The next step after the comp plan is that we have to create the LDRs that do whatever it is that we want and agree to as a community. That whether that's one of the things that I wanted to do when I first came here, that I've done in other communities, is write a requirement that thou shalt have a community meeting prior to development coming forward. We encourage it, we tell them you need to do this, and if they do it, great. If they listen to us, great. If they don't, there's nothing I can do.
Well, I
But we
think,
can
as I
fix
said, I
that
think
in
one of the things
LDRs.
we could do to at least take a stab at some of this is like we used to do in the old days when we insisted, planning said you have to have community benefits before we put you on the agenda. I mean, community hearings before we put you on the agenda.
There's no code that will back that up. There's nothing in the code that will back that up.
Well, then
what-
there's some serious lack in the code.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying to you. This is why we're beefing up the policies for affordable housing, and when we get to the LDR section, that's where we get into writing up, you have to have a community meeting. Has to be nearby the site, whatever it is we decide. That would also be where you would you determine, do you want to have a specific set-aside for a pool of units that are driven for affordable or workforce housing, have that set aside. But again, that's a little bit further down the road. But we need to set the framework up, which I think we've done. From what I've actually started reviewing some of the material that we started to produce.
But the city council can do it.
Yeah, and so it's what I saw and what we're working on, it's definitely beefing it up. And I was pleased to see what it is, because we're a bit frustrated with the fact that there's nothing in the code that gives me the force to make them do that. And there's
Right.
nothing in the code that says that you can have 15 units. Well, we're going to put that in the comp plan. Say, for example, in the pool, you have a specific set aside of the whatever number of units we end up replenishing the pool with. A portion of that is set aside for affordable workforce housing.
Yeah.
And so there's some things that we're going to bring forward to you. And once you see them and you bring it, then you start thinking about it and mulling on it and talking to the community members. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm anxious to get to the LDRs, because that's where the rubber really hits the road as
Well,
far as making
but
those things.
Anyway, I'm just saying from my standpoint, we aren't doing enough. We could do enough, and there's ways to get around stuff. So I think it's important.
Yeah, can I ask a question? How are other cities, I guess, working on this issue? And I'm more concerned about the developments that are by right that aren't required in our city to kind of do affordable housing. Is there anything we can levy a tax or create?
No.
I'm just asking, not saying that this board has that power. I'm just asking a general question from my knowledge.
Florida statute is pretty clear on affordable housing. You know, they encourage, of course, they want, but these inclusionary zoning ordinances are being struck down because Florida statute says you've got to have some sort of,
Quid pro quo.
yeah, well, that's a nice way of putting it, I guess. It's like, how are you offsetting the cost of them providing affordable housing?
Well, you do it, I'll
We-
tell you how you do it. You do it through infrastructure grants and tax rebates, and that's what other cities are doing. So, but
Right,
that's,
if
but
we
listen,
have
I
that,
know
yeah.
it's a long conversation, it's just I wanted to express my
Yeah,
concern.
and
We
it's
need
an
to take a
important
look
one.
at
It's
it.
an important one that we
And
have
I
to
understand
know.
there's a baseball game going on, so, yeah. Everybody- I'm getting pushed here.
But he's
so-
right, you're right, Vice Chair. This is an important issue for the city.
Very important
And your staff is on top of it, and you can't put LDRs in your comp plan, but we can put the framework, which we've started to do,
Yeah.
in place to make it happen.
All right, move to adjourn.
Second.
Favor?
No.
Wait a minute, now watch all you guys, except for one, vote no. All right, so we're adjourning at 9:17.
You too.